Hey, good afternoon, Miguel, Lloyd, host here of Chamber Live, Vice President of Marketing Communication here with the Atlanta Black Chamber. I want to thank you once again for giving us your time and catching up with
Hey,
what's going on with the
host
Chamber.
here, Chamber
And so, if
Vice
this is your
President
first time tuning into Chamber Live, what we do on a monthly basis is we come on here. Raquel and I will talk to you about what has happened in the past, what we got going in the future, and we always try to interview a couple of our outstanding members. And today, as you saw on our first screen graphic, we got a couple of outstanding young ladies who are doing amazing things in the business world, and we get a chance to get to know them today. So let me bring in my co-host. What's going on, Queen?
Good afternoon, good people. All is well over here in Hillville.
Yeah. Before we get into the show today, you out there hanging out with Alexander Hamilton. When was it? Last night? What was going on?
Things are kind of, I'm getting, all my dreams are coming true. So I had the opportunity to check out Hamilton playing it at the Fox. It looks like the original cast, with the exception of the one guy who played his son. But yeah, it was a great experience being there last night. And again, they rap about strategy.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about politics. They
Yeah.
rap about it's really dope if you kind of tune in and really use your hip hop ear to listen to the lyrics. It's an amazing experience.
Yeah, we're getting back out, and the Broadway is opening back up, and there's a lot of shows. I think it's this Friday. I think Club Quarantine will be in Atlanta. So D Nice will be somewhere in Atlanta, but obviously this is all about the commerce in the city of Atlanta. So make sure you are supporting the businesses that are keeping the lights on and being smart. Whether we ain't gonna get into the vaccine conversation. At least wear your mask so we can make sure we can stay out here and don't have to get all locked down again. So anyway, so let's talk about what's been going on. What's been going on with the chamber now? It's been about a month, and so let's do our quick recap to what has been going on with the chamber, and then we'll get back and we'll get our first interview in here.
All right. So August was amazing. Of course, we started off on August 3rd with the ABC South Metro Business Network Mixer. It's always a blast when we go down south and involve our colleagues there. August 11th, Raising Capital for Entrepreneurs, the monthly financial services webinar. August 18th, let's talk about overcoming mental illness. So again, these are things that happen in August, and the replays are available on our social media platforms. That was about mental illness and social anxiety, something that's really impacting us here during COVID and being kind of, isolating in place. On August 19th, we had our member-only meeting with the USBC. So if you're not a member, you didn't get to plug in on that. And
Membership
real quick,
has its privileges, y'all.
throw in these last two. August 21st, the 8th annual Biz Savvy Artist Academy.
Ooh, tell us about that. How was that? You had David Banner, who was, I understand, he hung around for a couple of hours. Let's give some highlights from that.
Yeah, David Banner, he was our keynote speaker for the 8th annual Biz Savvy Artist Academy, coming out of the Arts and Entertainment Committee. It was a real intimate and private discussion. He asked us to turn off the cameras. We were able to get some photos of him, but he just didn't want to be recorded.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to, it was like I'm going to say this, a woke conversation amongst woke people. So it was an artist talking to artists, and nobody left the room, and we were all kind of really hanging on the edge of our seats.
Yeah.
Listening to every word. Now,
that was a big win, Raquel, for you and your committee. David Banner, for people who may not have not been following him. I think his thing is the God Box, or I think it's a product or service that he has. But he's, for someone who has really evolved in his career, and he was always an amazing artist as far as a producer, a rapper, but he's evolved now to a tremendous businessman who's doing a lot of great things. Obviously the reason why he said, I don't want you to record me, because all my time is valuable, and we respect that. But I'm sure you guys, probably the people in the room, learned a whole lot about how to navigate this business of entertainment.
Right. And it wasn't just David Banner. We had an amazing panel of creative entrepreneurs giving their experience about maneuvering in the business and how to be taken serious as a creative entrepreneur. That is one of the things that we struggle with. They always think we just want to sing and read poetry, but it's way more to being a creative entrepreneur. Candace Ledbetter was also on that panel, dropping jewels from a PR.
That's my girl. Yeah,
that's
amazing.
And then just August 28th, August 26th, a couple of days ago, we had a webinar called Leadership Gold coming out of our
Mm-hmm.
training and professional development committee, and it was a very um, amazing webinar from leaders talking to leaders and having them define their leadership, proposing scenarios like what would you do if you had an employee that was XYZ,
Mm-hmm.
engaging the audience and how they were responding to it. And just real quick, every Tuesday at 8:30 we do our Tuesday talks. This last Tuesday talk, we had a special guest who talked about the census data and the results, and
Mm-hmm.
how the results of the census data are changing the landscape for the African American or Black community. So that,
Absolutely.
again, lots of gems going on here in the land of Black chambers.
Amazing. And as you know, and that's just what, we come off the top of our head, but there's a whole lot of relationships that have been built with this chamber, a whole lot of businesses being done. And if you're watching this, you're not currently a member of the chamber, I encourage you, please go to AtlantaBlackChambers.org, become a member. A lot of our stuff is public, but there's a lot of things that we do that are exclusive for members. There's a lot of information that is communicated that is exclusive for members. We're not going to stop sharing all this amazing information to the public, because that's what we're doing, is we're serving the community. But their membership definitely has its privileges, and rest assured, for less than half or a pair of red bottoms, or probably a third for a lot of you ladies, and some of y'all brothers too. Y'all think y'all real fly. I ain't gonna front. I like to throw a few little nice little digs on, but you got to invest into your business, and these relationships are a tremendous investment. So anything else before we talk about and bring on our first guest for the afternoon?
That pretty much sums up what you guys missed. And
Yeah,
later we'll talk about what's coming up. You always have time to plug in with the chamber. So
absolutely. Just a couple days ago, there was going to be an amazing Matthew Coleman and his team was getting ready to get a bunch of real estate people and investment people, and we were going to do that outside. But of course, Mother Nature changed that up. Ida changed that up. And before we get off that, man, pray for the folks in Louisiana. We got to pray for our people that are in New York, in Jersey, in Philly. That's something that people up that way, you just to see people in boats in Philadelphia helping people who are on roofs is it's just amazing. Mother Nature is nothing to play with. All right, so let's transition. We as we mentioned today, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to do this on a regular basis, and today our guest is Mari Kemp. And so, we're not going to do it. I don't do a whole lot of the reading of the bios, because I'm not trying to bore you guys. Here's what we do know is that we don't play. We don't bring nobody on our show or on our platform that aren't dope. And this sister is most certainly that. And so let's bring her on into the conversation. Miss Mari Kemp, how are you, sis?
I am well. I am well. Very happy to be here. And I'm not offended that you're not going to read the bio. It's quite long.
It is quite long, and we start talking about all the way from Oaktown, coming all the way to the A, and and we're not gonna get into. We are three. I know Raquel and I, Mar. We don't know each other yet. We'll get to know each other, but I'm a huge music head, and Oakland, man, y'all. Hey, In
Hey,
Vogue, you talking about Tony, you talking about Dale the Funky Homo Sapien.
yes.
I go back a little bit, but
Oh,
you guys got.
Dell. Okay.
Come on now, come on
I like
now.
that.
Yeah. But we'll wrap up the show on that fun part. But let's get
Absolutely.
into this conversation about your business and what you're doing, and how you and how we can plug into your business, as you're a founder of Coco Noir, the wine shop, and I'm gonna let you and Raquel talk wine, because anytime we get into wine in my house, I let my wife have that conversation. But let's talk about your business.
Yeah. So, we can actually speak on a lot of things. So, I was thinking about, how I want to sort of pivot this conversation and sort of talk to the audience about a few things. Number one, I just want to state that we are all more than one thing. And
Yes, we
I
are.
have multiple businesses.
Mhm.
But first and foremost, I'm Senior Vice President and Chief People Officer for a tech organization based out of San Francisco called Ease. And I like to talk about that because of what I do from a diverse perspective of really being able to drive the strategy around driving impact, being able to employ more people of our color, keeping these
Mhm.
organizations and the board accountable towards their commitment to diversity. So that's definitely one thing, that one of my biggest
Let's
projects
start
that I'm
there.
going on right
I want to
now.
dig. Let's dig into that for real. Let's because
Yeah.
I think there aren't enough African Americans who understand the power of what's going on out there in Silicon Valley, and that now a lot of that is coming to Atlanta as well for people of color. So let's dig into that.
Absolutely. Silicon Valley. So I've been in tech for probably 25 years now.
Okay.
And it's interesting that we need to understand as Black people, we're now starting to embrace technology from a social media consumer perspective, but we need to become more of the creators, the drivers, the innovators behind social media. So we talk about, the Facebooks, the Instagrams. We're doing a lot of consumption, right?
Yes.
We're using these platforms,
Absolutely.
but there's so much opportunity for us to create our own platforms. In addition to that, when I look at a lot of the areas that we're constantly hiring around is engineering and product.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two issues in these areas. Number one, there's not enough women in these fields. But there's also not enough Black representatives of this field coming into the market right now. If you think about, what it needs to really take to drive a successful business is probably 5 to 10 years of experience in engineering and product. 5 to 10 years ago, there wasn't a lot of women and there wasn't a lot of Black people moving towards these fields. And so what I do is, and there's also, when I say that I'm head of HR, I run the organization, it's important that we understand that there's two types of HR individuals. There's the HR individuals who sort of take the directives from the CEO and just do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of the data-driven HR professional that's just like, no, the data doesn't align. If you're truly about diversity and inclusion, where's your intention? Where's your metrics? How are you keeping your executive team accountable to this? Matter of fact, here are the metrics that you're going to start keeping this executive team accountable. And so it's having those conversations that they're not quite ready for, mm-hmm. and being unapologetic in doing so. And we need more of that action in this corporate space. If you're going to join corporate America, make sure that you are invoking your energy and driving impact in these roles, and that we can no longer be in positions where we're just taking orders and doing what we're told. We have to drive change. We have to drive impact. So that's a big portion of sort of what I do is in terms of driving diversity.
Let me ask you a quick question before we pivot, because you said you've been in this game for 20 years, and there's been a lot of change that has happened for Black folks, and particularly Black women in corporate America. People say all the time, we've been trained up as African Americans to do a lot of work to build these corporations. And now you're starting to see a lot more folks that look like you and I who are getting in those senior level positions, but there's still a little bit of a navigation piece that needs to go on when you get into those roles. Let's talk a little bit about that. And, obviously we've gone through Obama era, we've gone through the Trump era, and now we're in this weird, where the Biden era, which is a bit of a transition as well. We got Vice President Harris who's there. Let's talk about that a little bit, about Black women in corporate America and how you navigate it.
Well, I think it's number one important to, when you're navigating in corporate America, stay true to yourself, mm-hmm. and stay true to your people. I feel like what I've seen growing up is like you see these executives in corporate and they look like us, but we're not anywhere near close to the same agenda of change. It's just more like they're taking orders and just doing their jobs. Yeah. And we have a role to be, and it took us a long time. If you think about, the baby boomers, our parents taught us just to go to work, put your head down and just do your job. Get there early in the morning.
Get that gold watch and stay there 30 years and go home. That's right. Yeah.
Stay there for 30 years and go home. Yeah. Well, guess what? This is the reason why we have to be unapologetic about who we are and the culture and the impact that we bring into this workforce. Number one, our ancestors built this country. We can't forget that.
Absolutely.
And so what it means is that we have to be selective about what type of environments we choose to work in. It's not them choosing us, it's us choosing them. Yeah. Am I going to be given the empowerment, the ability to drive change? Do I even have change mindset in my mind? Yeah. Or am I just really coming here just to do the job? So I think for us, navigating through a pandemic, navigating through George Floyd, what happened during that shook the workspace up. If you noticed, everybody's throwing money everywhere.
How so? And that's why I asked the question. A lot of how so, because I want you to dig a little bit deeper, because a lot of us are entrepreneurs. We may have the experience of being in corporate America, but I haven't been in corporate America in 15 years, right? So talk about working in those environments when the George Floyds were happening, when these things were happening, and navigating during that time that you just spoke of.
It was one of those situations where the right thing to say is diversity and inclusion. They've been saying this for years, but this is where the tide came in and wiped it around, and a lot of pants were down at the time of understanding Black, understanding police brutality that's been going on for like this wasn't the only case in the world, but it was hyper concentrated because everyone was at home in a virtual setting. They're on a screen. If they tried to, they could ignore it. They could not ignore it. So it was highly concentrated. And so that's what made a difference about this. Not only that, we understand the psychological impacts of the media. They play the video over and over and over again. And so I had at the time the CEO who's just like, I don't even know what this means. And so then it ushered in a new agenda of education, ushered in a new agenda of, oh, should we just throw money at Black Lives Matter? And I was one who said, no. I think you need to connect with an organization that actually does something that you can physically connect to. They're doing something for the actual cause and people. Right. But that's why you saw Gap. You saw all these big companies just throwing money just to kind of push it on and move on. So then it's just like, OK, well, should Juneteenth be a holiday? Should it? And so it was definitely a touchy situation. All of a sudden, I become the subject matter expert in Black.
Yeah. And I've watched that. And Raquel, I want to bring you if you have any questions. But because what's happening now is that now there's this grievance thing. So now you're dealing with a whole nother wave of white grievance. Right. And so I'm starting to see a lot in the conversation that even diversity and inclusion, that's just a grift. That's just something that the legal industry has created this industry, cottage industry to go make. And it's amazing to me that you can't even talk about diversity and inclusion now in this grievance environment that we have without having some bounce back with that. I'll let you respond. And Raquel, if you have anything, I want to make sure I give you an opportunity to jump in.
100%. And it did really, and I think we're still sort of there because we're in that hypersensitive mode. And we have to understand hypersensitivity. And even if you're an entrepreneur, even if you are working in corporate America, we are getting to the point. What COVID has done is force us to remind ourselves, oh my God, you're a human. You have feelings. You're at home. You're focused on this piece of technology all day long. We're not robots. So as entrepreneurs and as leaders of an organization, we had to recognize that people had feelings. And this came out in various different ways, especially with the George Floyd situation.
Absolutely. Raquel, you got anything to say?
No, I just wanted to kind of, add that the isolation that we got from the pandemic and being shut down gave us the opportunity to reflect on ourselves, and then that way, when we reemerged and we were doing things, we were intentional about where we were putting our time, our effort, and our energy. So that's all I want to add to it. Great points. Michelle is on Facebook giving you all kinds of kudos. She says, great points, Mari. And then we have Kevin Maddox giving a shout out to the Bay Area band Madrill.
Hey.
I don't know Madrill. See, Calvin's our resident old head who knows that type of stuff, and I mean that with all levels of love. So I want to. I'm gonna make me look up Madrill now because I'm missing something there. I want to talk about the wine. Before we do that, though. With the environment of COVID, with the transitions, is your company completely virtual right now?
In terms of my,
as far
yes.
as your
yeah.
tech company.
Every time we try to open back up, another wave happens, and honestly, I think we're just committing to virtual at this point. The challenging part is what to do with these real estate deals that we're locked in for 5 to 10 years and things like that. So we are definitely 100% virtual at this point.
So I figured as much, but I just wanted to bring that up because our kids are in school. My kids are in school. They've been in school 3 weeks, 4 weeks, going on 4 weeks, and even now the communication of it is even we had a whole grade, fourth graders who ended up going home virtual. They didn't communicate that to everybody. They kept that from the entire community. You just had to hear that secondhand. And so the reason why I bring that up is that this second time, if there's any sort of lockdown, first of all, we're not going to have a full lockdown like we had unless it's a complete plague with locusts and flying in the air and everything. People,
especially not in Georgia.
So, but it's a strategy, and I know in the HR space you're dealing with that. Transitioning to your quote unquote side hustle, you've got several businesses. One of them being your wine business, and let's talk about that before we wrap.
Yeah, so Coco Noir, actually co-founder with Alicia Kidd. She's actually taking on the bulk of things now. It's actually a storefront in Oakland, California. And I think what was really cool about Coco Noir and what's being done there is the crowdfunding of raising the financial capital to start the business through something, a platform called WeFunder. And it was really cool. You know, you sort of think about, oh, I have to go through my back pocket and put all this money forward. I mean, we did do that. But at the same time, with WeFunder, being able to create an environment around you can be an investor. If we make money, you make money. So there's a revenue share model within that. And that once you on this platform, and it's all SEC verified and confirmed and all that, you're guaranteed to review all of our financial statements and everything that's provided there that we had built, and also to become an investor. So cash flow conversations is something that I'm pretty big on, and it's having healthy conversations around making your money work for you and cash flow. And so it was just like, okay, let's do this for the community of Oakland, but why not bring along and create investors in the process?
Absolutely.
And so I believe it's near almost $200,000 now that has been raised so far. And it's a nice investors community, but it also keeps Coco Noir honest with regards to the ROI that is to be delivered to the community as well.
So when you selected that business to go into as an investment, what did the lifestyle of African American women, what did the lifestyle of African Americans, what made you decide that's what you wanted to do as far as being a second business that you were going to run?
Definitely. It's definitely more of a power shift. I think, again, going back to social media technology as consumers, we're consumers of a lot of things. But at what point do you pivot and power shift it to be more of an innovator and a creator? And I'm telling you, these are the things to think about in every single dollar that we spend. You know, and so when it came to wine, I'm from San Francisco, born and raised, and we went up to Napa all the time and had plenty of wine on these gorgeous vineyards. But guess who didn't own any of those things?
Right.
Us. Right. And so it was essentially the mentality of let's power shift this and let's be the owners and the creators of this powerful business, and also target wine from Black owners, Black winemakers, and also women-owned vineyards out there that are pretty much underrepresented in the market. I mean, you don't hear about longevity wines. You don't hear about all of these fantastic wine companies that are out there that provide amazing taste. Matter of fact, it's our taste, kind of like how we like our kind of food. It's also our kind of wine that is underrepresented in the market. So it was an idea of a power shift of being a creator and an innovator, of bringing all of these underrepresented wine and vineyard organizations to the forefront. And it's the organization, or the storefront is set to open September, October. So WeFunder, we're still accepting investments, so please feel free to invest. We still are liking to have a crew with us as we sort of build this model.
Are you shipping your wines now? Is it a hybrid model of both virtual and in person?
Yes,
okay, awesome.
For sure. There's virtual wine tastings as well as shipping, and you can purchase the wine online as well.
Virtual wine tastings. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. Raquel, I'm lobbing it to you, girl. What you got? I know you the foodie. Go ahead.
I'm getting Miguel over here. So anyway, very interesting about your ability to be this HR powerhouse and also focus on this wine entity. When people say things to you about, do you ever get any like you're doing too much? Or do you ever find yourself having to explain how these two different sides of you merge? And, just that I know we have this ability to do massive talents, but talk a little bit about, when people are like, you're HR and how do you do wine? How does it go together? Like, what is your take on that?
I do it all the time. How do I run a global HR organization multiple times and still have 4 other businesses on the side? It's the operation of mastering delegation and hiring the right people to actually represent. And I would say to represent you well, there's people who do marketing way better than it would take for me to Google it for 15 hours, right? So I would hire that person to manage all my social media. I also owned multiple investment properties around the US. I'm never in any of those locations. I have a property manager for those things. So I almost think that, first of all, 2 things. We are Black people. Do we not recognize how much work we have to do? And if you only dedicate your mind to one thing, and one thing only, if you ever put yourself in one box, you're cutting out your ability to be all these other things that we are. So when I hear that, it's just sort of like, well, why are you limiting yourself? I'm also a certified yoga teacher, right? There is no limit to what we can do. And I think that when I hear that, it's just sort of like, well, maybe there's a challenge with delegation. Maybe there's a challenge with how you work. But I function in multi-dimensional states. And so there's many things that I can do. And I am very, I have a calendar that I live by every single day. My property manager just texted me right now, right? If I can spend time on Instagram and post pictures of my friends, if I can spend time on Facebook, if I can sit on the phone for hours and talk to friends, I'd rather be doing things that's going to build my legacy. I have 3 children, one who graduated from Howard University, another who goes to school in Paris, and a 6-year-old. And guess what? They all own enough properties in their name so that they're okay once I'm gone. And so if we don't understand the sense of urgency, and if someone's actually questioning that with critique, that's not someone I can associate with, because I believe I'm more than that. And I think that we all need to understand we are more than one thing. And so I just wanted to, and honestly, when I actually thought about retiring, and I did, from corporate America, and I was so bored because I missed out on sitting in the room with, Google investors, venture capitalists, pulling up data, dissecting the business. Like, it's such a intellectual stimulant for me that I said, okay, I can do this and all these other things. So I would just say, we are all more than one things. And just like when you're working out, I love working out, and you feel like you can't do one more rep, you actually can. And you're sort of the block for your own self. And it all, for me, starts in the morning with meditation.
Girl,
so
you are,
absolutely. I'm just going to say, you touched on a lot of things. I've often been referred to as a Renaissance woman. I don't know if you saw my title flip in the middle of this particular episode, but it went from the arts and entertainment chair to the director of operation. And that speaks about who I am and what it is that I do. And I love how you spoke on those people who are coming at you with criticism. They don't belong in your circle. And that's one of the things that we have to learn, to kind of step out of that comfort zone and not necessarily fly solo, but find those people who are down with us. So I think that's
and you'll be solo for a while, but you'll find them eventually, and you have to be okay with that, So
Mari, you sis, you are amazing. Let's just drop the mic there, and I want to respect our next guest time, because she's been so patient with us. But I think so. So let's run it down again: corporate HR, wine, real estate investor.
Real estate investor, mother of 3.
And then I think you're also a consultant, right? You
consultant, business advisor. I meet with my businesses that I advise on at least every 2 weeks. Very active. There's so much to do. I rehab properties. I mean, there's just so much work to do, and it's fun.
But before you leave, real quick, are you by coastal? Are you doing the Bay Area thing and hanging out with us here in Atlanta?
So I actually built a house in 2019 in Georgia and didn't know why. Didn't even know where it was. I'm in Conyers, Georgia. Okay. But when the pandemic happened, got out of California and came here. And you know what? I love Georgia. I don't know if I'm ever going back, but I'm here to stay.
Well, we're glad to have you. We're all transplants, but we all seem to get hit to Georgia and love the property value. Love how you can build cheap, and the values are going up. But I'm gonna put you on the spot. You sound like you have mastered the art of transition of corporate America into entrepreneurship. And there are a lot of women, particularly, who have that fear to make that leap. So I would love to be able to see if we can build something out with that, just even if it's just an event, private coaching session, something we can figure out. And I'm putting you on the spot. I hope you don't mind, but I think I'm
willing to do it. You know what? Who I am and where I am, you can go to MadiKemp.com, or if anybody watching wants to reach out to me directly. I actually take pride in being able to have conversations and coach and do events because none of us were given a roadmap. We just had to sort of figure it out. And guess what? It doesn't have to be that hard. And I'm not the type of person who won't tell you everything. I will tell you everything I know. Just because I want to see everyone around me successful.
Sis, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and we look forward to having you back on the show. Thank you so much. All right.
Absolutely.
We're not going to belabor it. We're going to make sure we get our next guest on here real quick before we do our little recap. That was amazing. I see my man, Melvin, he's always close. You're letting us know, obviously, great stuff. Showcase the ABC members, and so we got some amazing people that are part of this organization. So we really thank them for their dedication. All right, let's make sure we let's move on. We got our next guest, and I'm gonna let you introduce her as we cue her up here.
All right, Chamber Live audience, coming to the stage next is Thandiwe Cato. She is coming to us live from, also, I believe, the Bay Area. So if she's ready, we're bringing her on. We'll learn more about her and her connection with the ABC. And before we show her face, I just want you to know the hashtag ABC Everywhere is a real thing. We have members who are in California. We have a member in Alaska. We have members who chime in from the Virgin, from the Caribbean. So
Nigeria, we have some regular viewers who come in from Nigeria as well. Yeah. One thing too, if Mari, if you're still there, there's someone who's interested in investing with your deal. If you can drop it in the comments, if you are still on Facebook, or maybe you can send it on over to us. We'll get it out. We want to make sure people want to get an opportunity.
I'll do that right now.
Thank you. We
check
appreciate
out
you.
the We Funder, and it's a great setup. It actually tells how much they're investing, and that you get 4% of the return. All the information that you need is right there. So it's awesome.
All right. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Are you all just choosing people from the Bay Area today?
I'm telling you, I'm getting ready to find me some Tony, and I hit Mari with the Delta Funky Homo Sapien, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm an old school hip hop head." So, welcome to the show, welcome to Chamber Live, and we appreciate you coming to us. And what is it out in LA or Oakland? It's probably 10 o'clock, and so we appreciate you getting started with us this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you. And before I say anything else, I just also want to say that I have seen Mari, and I'm also part of the Oakland African American Chamber, so I've seen the We Funder, and I'm a huge fan. I love wine. I think everybody in California does, so absolutely.
All right, so let's get into this thing. So let's talk about your business.
Sure. So I'm with Matthews Financial and Insurance Solutions. We basically help individuals and small businesses to create a roadmap to help them reach their financial goals. So whether that is retirement planning, insurance planning, business planning, we help them do that. I would say, especially through the pandemic, it's been a lot easier. Like you said, you have people from different markets. I feel like I stumbled across the Atlanta Black Chamber by accident, but I'm so blessed that I was able to join and meet people from different states as well.
Yeah, so you found us. Have you been to Atlanta, been to any of our events, or you joined the chamber from Oakland?
I joined it while I was here, so I actually went to a networking event, had no idea where it was. It just said something like Black Networking. And then from there, I met someone who was like, hey, you have to join the chamber. You're going to make so many networks. And so I went to another event and I ended up joining.
Well, we appreciate you. Raquel, I'm going to let you jump in on this one a little early. You know I can go now.
All right. So, Thandiwe, you're in the financial arena. So talk to us a little bit about any shifts that you've seen since the whole George Floyd. Are you seeing a different kind of investor? Speak to us about that.
Absolutely. I'm definitely seeing more people wanting to be in charge of their finances. I think we had so much, we felt so much security in our everyday jobs. We were getting paid. We felt like there wasn't as much risk. And I think not only through just with George Floyd, but with the pandemic in general, we kind of said, okay, I need another source of income. I need to do something differently. So I think just based on that, I've seen more people open to those conversations as far as investing and kind of diversifying their portfolio. And then on the other side of that, I think a lot of the fear that came with it also allowed people to say, hey, how do I start protecting my assets? And so those conversations have also gone on as well.
So, there's been a lot of folks who were prepared. Well, nobody was prepared for the pandemic. Let's not say that nobody was prepared for that. But there's some folks who have responded a whole lot better in purchasing real estate, starting businesses, doing things. And how have you seen that activity shift during this time of pandemic? Have you seen a lot more people win that are telling people that they're winning right now?
Absolutely. I think there was definitely a prediction that there would be a huge downturn in the real estate market, for an example. But then what we've seen is because interest rates were also a lot lower,
Mm-hmm.
people were more inclined to purchase real estate, whether that's in state, out of state. You had people who were living in maybe expensive states like California now saying, hey, I don't have to go to work. I can now live somewhere else and maybe still get the same salary I'm getting in California. So when it comes to certain investments, people have definitely started to um, gain more assets and be a lot more open to it because now we're kind of taking more control of what we um, like the income that we're making for ourselves and not just relying on our employer to do that.
Are you finding that African Americans are becoming a bit more knowledgeable on how to use insurance vehicles as means of investment and wealth growth and things of that nature?
Yeah, definitely. There's more people who are open to that conversation. I've started that conversation with some individuals, and I think that before it was like I didn't really understand it. I don't know how to get started with it, but it's a process. So when I work with people, I think the main thing is to make sure that I spend a huge amount of time on the education portion
Mm-hmm.
before you get started because it can be a bit intimidating because a lot of the things we've heard, especially for young people, are, I don't need insurance, I don't have any kids, what's the use of it? And so we don't understand all of the benefits of it and some of the other ways that people have used it to build and create wealth. So when it comes to talking about generational wealth and preparing earlier on rather than where you're in a position where you maybe don't qualify, I've seen a lot more young people specifically starting to have those conversations.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who understand that life insurance is not for when you're dead. There's a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot. And
And
talk to that. Talk to us a little bit about that, about how that's a potential investment vehicle or wealth building vehicle that a lot of people may be missing out on.
Absolutely. So the two main types, and this is a really big question that I get of insurance or of life insurance, are term and what's called like a cash value or also a permanent policy. The main difference is term is going to be for a specific time period. So I always like to compare that to, let's say, renting a house. You don't own the house, you don't have any equity in it, but you're able to live in it.
Mm-hmm.
So with term insurance, you're only getting the value if you pass away.
Mm-hmm.
On the other end, I like to describe cash value or permanent life insurance as something as your own personal bank. So you're basically putting money into it and cash starts to accumulate. And you're able to use it's similar to a bank because you can use it as savings. You can borrow from it, which is a huge thing people don't know you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also being invested. So that money is similar to an investment and maybe a lower risk, but the insurance company doesn't want to lose money. So a lot more people have been using the cash value to do some retirement planning, educational planning for their children, and also using it to also fund their business as well. So there's a lot of different things you can use it as. Think of it like a home equity line of credit from your
Mm-hmm.
insurance policy that you can use.
So one thing that I think here's what we know: a lot of black businesses, the biggest challenge we always hear is access to capital. That's one of the challenges that keeps our businesses from growing. When you
Mhm.
walk into a potential bank and they see that you have a life insurance policy in your portfolio or you have some other access, I think that's something people always say when they're asking you for these documents and what other assets do you have, and you want to keep that close to your vest. Well, I don't want to know everything that I have, but
Mhm.
doesn't that really help people when it comes down to trying to go out there and raise capital?
Absolutely. When you're trying to get a loan, they want to know, okay, what can we kind of use? The three C's are, collateral, credit, and cash. So they're going to be looking at if this person is borrowing money for their business, how are they going to be able to take it back? If the worst time for you to ask for money as a business is when you don't have money. That's why typically when it comes to borrowing money as a startup, it's a little bit more difficult because the bank is looking at you as a liability. Like, I don't know, this person isn't making any money, most businesses fail, I don't know how I'm going to recoup that money back. That's really what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're coming with all your assets and your documents and showing them, okay, maybe I have some savings, or I have a friend who's going to give me some money, I have an insurance policy that I can show as collateral, they're more open to saying, okay, this person has something to start with that we can maybe lend them some money.
Got it. Got it. Got it. This is, I want to make that important point because I think we always default to it's always racial, and a lot of times it is. But you have to be able to come armed. Where you got to come with as many assets to say, okay, you can't turn me down because it is. My credit rating is solid. I got cash in the bank. I got life insurance policies. I've done my research. Now what? And then, of course, you can take that same portfolio and shop it somewhere else. If there's anybody may have any questions for our guest here in the comments, drop them here, and we'll be sure to get them in. We appreciate everybody who's been following the show today. So talk to us a little bit more about what are 3 things that you think that, and you just talked about, it was credit, was cash, and what was the third one?
Credit, cash, and collateral.
And collateral. What are some other things that that you would advise our audience on being more financially sound in business?
Well, the first thing I always tell people is to have a budget. And that's a huge thing because I think it often gets overlooked because it's so basic,
Mm-hmm.
right? So people are like, I don't necessarily need a budget. I know how much I'm spending a month, especially when you have your own business. You need to know how much is coming in and how much is going out. So once you have that idea and you understand what that is, then you can start to move on to other things like having emergency funds, like having any investments and things like that. So I think sometimes we rush into, okay, I have to get this investment, but we're
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily taking the precaution to see that we have enough money to do that, and also to make sure that we're financially protected as well.
Absolutely. Raquel, you got anything, sis?
You basically covered everything that I was, because I wanted to say, what is the point of entry for anyone that's interested? And you talked about creating a budget. So I think, Miguel, you and I are sharing a brain. I have all of these notes of what I was like, I'm going to ask for this, I'm going to ask for this, and then you just totally come in and ask those. And I believe that some of our audience would love to hear, and you already said it, about the point of entry, which is starting off with a budget.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and then the other thing too, as far as when you were talking about startup funding, being able to show that you have some skin in the game, how does crowdfunding play into that? And how would you say people can say, well, I've been doing this crowdfunding thing? Like, can you speak a little bit to that?
Sure. So I think the whole crowdfunding space is still fairly new. And as Maru was talking about WeFunder and platforms like that, prior to that, you had to get the barrier to entry to raise money to even start your company was a lot more. So if you had to do any SEC filing and raise money for an IPO, that was a lot of money. And you're just trying to get your foot in the door. So now platforms that are allowing you to do crowdfunding have made it a lot easier to say, hey, friends and family, I have this business. Now I can share that. It gets shared a couple times on Facebook. And then also the platform itself is able to allow investors who are just looking to get a return on their money, because there are people who have a certain amount of money where they want to invest in these businesses. There's no lack of investors there, or people who want to see a return on their money. So now that we're able to put it and connect people on these platforms, I think it has done a lot for especially smaller businesses who really don't need as much as maybe trying to be the next Google or Amazon, but just need something to get started, to raise some working capital for their business.
Let's expound on that a little bit, and Melvin wants us to talk about the Black community in Oakland. I think there's a lot of us have never experienced that, and I'm excited because I've always admired Oakland from a distance. So you said that there's not a shortage of people who are looking to invest in businesses, and so tell us about a little bit about the communities that some of us maybe need to frequent a little bit more, as instead of over here arguing about Trump and arguing about COVID. We need to find some different communities on LinkedIn and Facebook, or whoever, or other communities offline that we may be able to start associating with those type of people. What type of people are out here that are looking to invest into people's businesses? Where can people find them and connect?
Right. So I think if anything, what this whole pandemic and being able to work from home in a certain capacity has taught us is that you don't necessarily even have to leave your home to find people to invest in your business. If
Mm-hmm.
you go online, you Google angel investors. If you're looking to do real estate investments, you can find turnkey companies that allow you to do investing from other states. There are so many different opportunities, whether that's also LinkedIn, joining chambers in different cities. There was a lot of times in organizations that I'm a part of where people presented, real estate deals and things like that, all online, and we're able to make decisions and move forward where I don't have to get on the plane and fly somewhere. So I think if you do take the time, you can find investors on. I know Angel Investor is a huge platform where you can actually connect with a funder where you write about your business and then you find investors that will now invest in your business. And so you might have a minimum per investor. Let's say it's 1,000 or 5,000, and then people will invest in your business based on that. So again, you don't have to leave your home to find these investors. You can actually go online and find them once you've created a proper plan and you're able to market them using your business online.
I think one thing that for many people who are not familiar with the chamber, it's maybe your first time experiencing it, but as black folks who are in business, I think the mentality has to change. You know, there are challenges, but there are black investment VC companies that are out there that love to invest in minority and women of color. I say this, I say this without apology. This is the time. There's a lot of white guilt that's going on right now, and there's a lot of people who are very genuine, and they genuinely didn't know, or they genuinely want to invest. And there's other people who just they feel guilty, and they feel like, okay, maybe I should go out here and invest in African American businesses or women owned businesses. And so we have to be very intentional in trying to go out and connect with some of those people to make sure that we can get that done. All right, before we let you go, anything else we didn't touch on that you wanted to share before we let you go? I see church finger coming up over there, Raquel. You had something?
I'm just saying, did we touch on the Oakland community? And
We didn't. We didn't. Thank you.
yeah. So just tell
So
us a
you
little bit about
To tell us a
yeah.
little bit about the business community in Oakland and opportunities potential. Because here's the thing: they always talk about San Francisco being a spot for this Silicon Valley. But how has Oakland benefited from all of that type of Silicon Valley money being there in the region?
Well, I definitely think the Oakland African American Chamber did a tremendous job at raising funds. Um, we raised a lot of funds that went to local businesses in the areas, just specifically through the chamber. And they also do send a lot of notifications when they do get people who want to grant money to local African American owned businesses. So I think when it comes to being able to do that, we've still been virtual to a certain extent. It hasn't been the same as in Atlanta, where things are a bit more open. We're just starting to slowly, I guess you could say, go outside. But prior to that, we really based on a community of having a lot of events, being able to support each other, being able to utilize each other's services within the chamber. So I think that's the main thing of understanding what it is people do within the chamber and then actually using those services. So if I need somebody who does graphic design, I'm not going to be, searching online and using the first person that pops up on Google. I'm going to go to, whatever organization I'm a part of, look through their directory and see if that person is able to do it, just to kind of, keep it in the same circle. So that's definitely been something that takes a little bit more time, but I would always incentivize people to do that first, just to make sure that their local community can continue to thrive.
So I want to dig a little bit deeper on one thing for because I know we're getting ready to go. But how has the black business community, from proximity, you would think that black business folks in Oakland could really benefit from being right there close to San Francisco, which we know all of the major companies are there.
Mhm.
How has the black business community in Oakland benefited from that, or what has been the barriers if they haven't really benefited that strongly from having all of that wealth in the community?
I think there are definitely barriers because one thing that I did see, especially when it came to applying for certain grants, people didn't necessarily feel as comfortable, and they would kind of disqualify themselves before they even went through the process. So I'm not saying that there wasn't a lot of opportunities that came from it, but I will say there was definitely the opportunity on both sides to do more, whether it's offering more grant services or loans or small business loans to local African American owned businesses within Oakland. But I will say, it just hasn't been done at the capacity that I think would have benefited the businesses in the Oakland area.
Got it. Well, we appreciate you, Raquel. Before I don't want to let her go. If you had anything else before we let her go.
No, just we're getting some comments. Love your expertise, and people are really engaging on Facebook. So if you have the opportunity to go through and look at some of those comments, this was really good stuff. I love how you're dropping knowledge about how to navigate inside of a chamber. A lot of people are very confused about what a chamber is and the benefits of belonging to an organization such as the chamber, and specifically a Black chamber, and how that can benefit you. So this has been amazing. You have been amazing. I just want to thank you so much for saying yes and coming on, and I really appreciate you coming on and dropping your knowledge. I think our audience is wiser.
Absolutely. I think, my understanding, you discovered us by coming through a Corey Moore, one of our event. He does amazing business events in the market. So shout out to Corey Moore for bringing this expertise to the community. Thandiwe, thank you so much for your time, and anytime we'd love to have you back on the show.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. And I just wanted to add one thing that Raquel said about just being able to utilize your chamber is there's so many people within it, but you have to reach out and follow up with those people. And I think that's the true extent of being able to actually make sure your membership's working for you as well. So I'm glad I was able to connect and be part of the Atlanta Black Chamber as well.
Thank you so much. We're glad you're part of our community. We appreciate you. All right. Take care.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Great show today. We got about 7 minutes left here today, so let's jump into what we got coming up. Some of the events we may have coming up here that people can get connected to. I know one. Let me jump in here for next Tuesday. You can meet me at the South Metro. And we're going to have we're actually going to have the new president of Clayton State University who's going to join us there, and in addition to Bruce and Dee. But it's been a great thing going on. But what else we got? So that's next Tuesday. Register. You can go to Eventbrite for all of this stuff, pre-register, and get it all into your calendar and all that good stuff, so you don't miss anything. But what else we got going on, Raquel?
All right, and I will be tossing the links for all of these events into our chat. So you see my head turning left and right because I'm back here producing and making sure that I give you guys the content that you need to be successful with the Atlanta Black Chambers. So on September the 8th, we're going to do an event called The Power of Franchising. On September 14th, the event that was canceled for August 31st with the real estate professional team is going to be at the West Side Park, the newly $44 million park that Atlanta invested in, that is now known as the largest park in the city. And it's real estate in the park, and it's about investing in 1 to 4 unit properties. On September 15th, the Health and Human Services is doing an event on health insurance. September 18th, for those of you who want a deep dive on the benefits of being in the chamber, we will be doing a virtual open house hosted by myself and our executive director, Melvin Coleman. September 30th, the Women's League golf event, Cocktails on the Course, that will be happening. So for more information about these events, again, you guys can check our Eventbrite page and follow us on our social platforms. 2 more, Miguel. I'm trying to be respectful of time.
Hey,
I got 5.
We good. We got 5 minutes. Yeah.
October 21st, coming out of our governmental affairs committee, as well as Advancing Black Businesses, which is our PAC, our political action committee. They're doing a mayoral forum, the first of many forums that we will be doing for the various offices that are open and up for elections. And then on November 13th, which is after Veterans Day, but in honor of veterans, we will be doing another golf outing. So get your golf games together, y'all, in November 13th, and that will be that is being sponsored by our very own Captain McGee. So again, we talked about what was happening. We had this amazing content in the middle, and we talked about what's going to happen. And we've given you a million ways to plug in. So real quick, if you guys have pen and paper, or if you can jot this down, I want you to take down this number. I had it up. Okay, ready. 218-895-8208. And when prompted for a passcode, you're going to enter 2005 followed by the hashtag or the pound sign. That is a way.
That's Tuesday Talks, right? I think you're talking about Tuesday Talks every Tuesday morning, 8:30 a.m. Every Tuesday morning. You can get a lot of the same information, and we have amazing guests all the time. And here's everything we want to talk about. Melvin's joking, talking about we got to shop this show to the major networks, and I'm all for that. But there are sponsorship opportunities for this show, for all of our events. You'll start to see more. We've got Square, who's a major sponsor for us in a lot of things. We got Truist, who's also bought into a few of our opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities for you. So if you guys would like to communicate or like to sponsor any of this show or any other events, just email me at communications@atlantablackchambers.org. If it's for this show, we'll take care of it, let you know what it will take. If there's any other opportunities, we can forward them over to the different committee chairs and let you talk to them about opportunities to sponsor their particular events or shows. And of course, we can send them also to Melvin Coleman, our executive director. And so make sure you keep an eye out. Also, we're getting into the space of we have our nonprofit that is really kicking up right now. We also have Advancing Black Business, which is really kicking up right now. You see a lot of stuff in the comments about our Eventbrite. Just follow us on Eventbrite. Go to Eventbrite and make sure you're at the bottom of the event. Hit follow the Atlanta Black Chambers, and you'll get updates all the time when we have stuff that is going on. This show will be up on YouTube real soon. So if you want to watch it either on YouTube or Facebook, whichever one you're most comfortable with, just follow us on YouTube or Facebook or both, and make sure that you're following us there. What else we missing? And like I said, Club Quarantine this weekend for people. Club Quarantine will be in town, and we support our entertainment promoters and entrepreneurs as well. But that's D-Night's gonna be here. It's gonna be people in the park. The weather is gonna be pretty good.
I was gonna say, long-standing house in the park for you old school house heads from up top and on the Golden Coast of Chicago. The house in the park is happening.
Where is that going to be?
Well, it happens in Grant Park.
All right, Grant Park. Okay, so it's a lot going on. Make sure you guys use the social media for good and find somewhere to get out in open air and enjoy yourselves this weekend. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you tell a friend if you missed any part of the show. It'll stay up here on Facebook. Share it so people can get this great information. Thank you to Thandiwe as well as Mari and my Lord. You got a lot of opportunities to do business with both of them. A lot of opportunity to do business with everybody here within the chamber. Shout out to, let's run down and see Yardine Day. What's up, sis? Great promotional company. We're looking at folks that have been during the whole show, been hanging out with us. Let's see who else we got that are in the comments here. Appreciate our man, Melvin. Thank you. We appreciate you for tuning in. Let me see. Michelle says there are 25 seats. 25 seats remaining for cocktails on the course, so make sure you register today. All this information is available. There's the registration link. You can find it in the comments. Let's see what else. Let me see who else. I think I see you said Stacey Porter. Did you say he was here? Okay, we appreciate you. Jeannie was tuning in. Let's see what else we saw here. Sherilyn, my girl Sherilyn, and he's here. Just so many great people. But if you missed it, make sure you tune in. All right, we'll catch y'all next time. Chamber Live, follow us next month. I hope to see you guys next Tuesday at Pseudo's Bar and Grill in South Metro. I always forget the city. It's in Ellenwood, I believe it is. Ellenwood down in South Metro. I ain't seen you out there yet, Raquel. Y'all should come on out there.
I'm coming to this one.
All right, bet. I look forward to seeing you. All right, everybody. See y'all next time. Peace.